Hey everyone, it's Lexie. So in today's video I'll be doing a spoiler-free review of Bluebird by Sharon Cameron, which was the Tales and Teacup book club pick for the months of November and December. Don't know why I was tripping over those words, but I was really excited for this. I used to be so obsessed with World War II historical fiction, and I feel as of recently I just haven't been reading a lot in this genre, so I was really excited to dive right in. But this follows a girl named Eva who has left kind of her war-torn Germany to the United States, where she is kind of tasked by the US government to find essentially her father, who was a Nazi officer who was the doctor that tested a lot of medical tests on prisoners, and he obviously escaped custody, and she is tasked with kind of finding him because the US government wants to utilize his kind of research. And so it kind of kicks off from there. We do kind of get a kind of dual storyline. We get, I don't know, it's I-N-G-E. I've just been pronouncing it in my mind as Inez because I was like Ingi. I don't know how to pronounce it. But we follow Ingi, who is also kind of growing up in Germany, and she's kind of grown up with like Hitler and all that. So that's like all that she knows. And so when we kind of follow her right when Germany loses the war and the aftermath of that. And I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars. Like, I enjoyed this book, but there are aspects of it that I just didn't like. One of the things I really enjoyed was Inez's chapters, especially in the beginning, where we kind of follow the beginning of the end of Germany, like the fall of the Nazi regime, and just how she has, like, I feel like a lot of the things too that I've learned in like history classes is that a lot of people really didn't know what was actually going on in some of these camps. And so we kind of follow her comes to terms with what her father did, what was actually kind of going on, and that everything that she was kind of told growing up was a lie. And I really like that. There's kind of, you two different kind of paths, I guess you could take, that were kind of explored in here. One where Inez is like totally against everything and her father did and what the Nazis did, and then we get another kind of path that is taken too, where they're kind of still believing in the ideology and the preachings of kind of the Nazi, of like the ideal race, which I think is a very interesting thing. I feel like we don't really kind of explore the kind of ramifications of children who kind of grew up with this type of thinking, which I think was really well done. And I did enjoy the chapters like right after the war, where she's kind of finding out in the aftermath of that, I thought was really well done. The chapters of Eva I think were also good, but there was a lot of pacing issues. I think this book could have been easily like 100 pages shorter than it actually was. And like when I thought this was the ending, it kind of went on a little bit longer for 40 or so pages, which I didn't think was necessary. But I found her perspective, or her chapters, to be very interesting in terms of kind of the vengeance plot line, which I enjoyed, and kind of the climax at the end was also really exciting. I think too, with this being YA, I think there were a lot of kind of plot twists that I just really were very like obvious, I think, so I wasn't really kind of shocked with some of these twists that took place throughout this novel, which was a little bit disappointing because I find too with like YA, I think like the twists are very obvious, so it kind of took away, like I guessed early on one of the big plot twists, and so that kind of took away from the excitement of some of these things. And yeah, like it was just, there was like a necessary love like story in here as well, which I didn't think was really, it didn't really add much to the story overall. But overall, like I said, I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars. There are parts that I really liked and some that I didn't. I also read in the author's note too, she kind of talked about the kind of the history behind some of these like testings that were done, like these medical experiments that were done on prisoners, which is just horrific to what these people had to go through. She talks more about that and how a lot of the doctors were kind of not really brought to justice, because a lot of the countries wanted to utilize their studies on what they were doing, and like how the US kind of did certain similar testing as well to African Americans, specifically with prisoners, like people who were in jail, which I thought was really interesting. I'm trying to see what else she talks about. Oh yeah, Powell House and the American Friends Service Committee. She incorporates a lot of real life people into this as well, who kind of dedicated their lives to helping, you know, people who, you know, went through war and adjust to a new life, and they provided resources. She mentions here that they actually won a Nobel Peace Prize after World War II for their contributions to the war effort. They were one of the first people, like first kind of services in kind of Germany at the time when the regime fell, and because they're apolitical, so they were just kind of there anyways, and just kind of all the amazing things that these people did I found really interesting, and how she was able to add like some real figureheads into here as well, which was good. Yeah, so like I said, there were some things I liked about this one, some things I didn't. It was just, you know, an average read, 3 out of 5 stars, nothing mind-blowing. There are parts that I liked, some that I didn't, but overall I think this is a decent, you know, World War II historical fiction, and I especially think for a younger audience, like a YA audience, I think this would be very good too. She doesn't hold back from a lot of the, she doesn't sugarcoat the atrocities of the war, which I think is, you know, important for these stories. So I think for the target audience, I think this is a very good book. It's just not to the kind of adult level that I'm typically used to reading at. So that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below if you read this book and what you thought about it. I'd love to hear what you guys thought. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys.